Man, oh man, we are talking a lot about hostile bids, or offer sheets, as they are more colloquially called in English. Let's go out there and read an article that was posted on TVA Sports by Nick Cuylle earlier last week, because it goes over the quote-unquote hostile bid and talks about 4 must-have candidates for this kind of talk. Of course, the article is French. I translated it into English, which is why the offer sheet label in the title talks about hostile bids. But I wanted to dive into 2 of the names that are mentioned in this piece within the scope of the Montreal Canadiens. This article doesn't directly link the Habs to any of these guys, but it does say early on at the beginning here that Mason McTavish's name has been linked to the Montreal Canadiens in a few places online, without taking into account one extremely important fact. The Anaheim Ducks will have a budget of nearly $40 million this summer and are in a position to match any offer that a rival team deigns to send to the young center. Deigns? What does that word mean? Interesting. I think that's a spelling error. Okay, that is not supposed to say deigns. But it does talk about the Canadiens, and it does say that maybe the guy that the Habs would be interested in going after in an offer sheet capacity wouldn't really be too available, realistically speaking. But with that in mind, I wanted to dive into 2 of these other names, because it's written about here that 2 guys from the New York Rangers could potentially be in this conversation too. Take a look at this. Out of the 4 names that are mentioned on this offer sheetable players article, 2 of them from the Rangers are Will Cuylle and K'Andre Miller. The Blues' strategy could be replicated. They target a Rangers striker and a defender with bold offers, leaving Chris Drury with a terrible dilemma. Drury has 3 options: match both offers, match one of the offers, or match neither. The Oilers last year had taken the latter. In their current roster, the Rangers have 12 forwards, but only 5 D-men under contract for next season, with a projected budget of around $8 million. Miller is a giant 6'5" defenseman with tantalizing athleticism who finished the 24-25 season second on the Rangers in average playing time. He has never posted a negative plus-minus since arriving in the NHL in 2020-2021. Will Cuylle is a rare breed in the NHL at 23 years old, a power forward. The big 6'3" winger set career highs this year with 20 goals and 45 points. A team that sees Cuylle as a future 30-goal scorer would be willing to give him a very aggressive $7 million a year contract. It's assumed that in the 2025 compensation scale, the Rangers would receive first and second round picks for Cuylle. In Miller's case, remember that Philip Broberg received nearly $5 million a year from St. Louis after going up and down between the NHL and the AHL that prior year. Miller has already been playing on the Rangers' top 2 pairs for several years, and it's assumed he could receive also a $7 million offer if the goal is to dissuade the Rangers from keeping him. Ultimately, the team that makes the hostile offer would get a feared power forward and a giant-paired second defenseman at minimum at salaries slightly higher than their market value. In return, they would have to give up 4 picks to the Rangers, 2 firsts and 2 seconds. Please note that the surrendered picks cannot be those of another team's. When 2 picks are from the same round, picks from the next draft can be used to accommodate the other team. In this scenario, the Rangers cannot afford to match both of the offer sheets, but it's a steep price to pay. You really have to have faith in Cuylle and Miller. Now, this is really, really interesting, because both of these guys getting $7 million a year on an offer sheet would be kinda nuts. I think we can all agree on that. Maybe K'Andre Miller is more, I want to say appropriate to get a $7 million AAV deal because he has been more so of a utilized defenseman in a bigger role than Cuylle throughout their careers thus far. Cuylle has only really broken onto the scene recently. K'Andre Miller has been there for a little bit longer, so there is a reasonable argument in that respect. But when you look at just the potential and what these guys have been able to bring to the game, I can understand why some Rangers fans have dogged on K'Andre Miller this season. He hasn't necessarily been his best, but there is reason to believe that he can still continuously be a solid defenseman and potentially a number 1, number 2 guy. He had a lot of 22, 23, 24 even minute games this previous year with the New York Rangers, and he's only 2 years removed from scoring 43 points in 79 games. This year he had 27 points for a steep decline, but everybody kind of declined in the New York Rangers, so I'm willing to give him the pass. Meanwhile, for Will Cuylle, he had a really good season this year, and with his 20 goals and 45 points, not to mention his versatility throughout the lineup, this is a guy that I think a lot of Rangers fans were excited to see explode in the ways that he did, and are just excited to see more of what's possible out of this dude. But that means the question of the offer sheet will be there, and you have to kind of start debating if it's going to be a likely option here. If it does go through at these dollar amounts, let's say both of these guys end up getting a $7 million AAV offer sheet, are you willing to shell out 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Miller and Cuylle? If you're a team like the Montreal Canadiens, for example, and you are somewhat interested in going the Phil Broberg, Dylan Holloway route, then there is a chance that you might have to shell out some massive dough, but at the same time, you could also bring up the argument that says, hey, the Montreal Canadiens don't necessarily need to hold on to all these draft picks anymore. At the very least, they have one this upcoming draft that they can use in the Calgary Sean Monahan first, but also the Habs have had so many young prospects and first rounders and all these guys that have made impacts in their organization over the past few years that you could debate that the time is now. Your time for drafting is up. Your time for competing is now. You can't see me. My time is now. There is a reasonable argument that says, hey, let the Rangers have all the draft picks. The Habs have had a ton of them. They've used a ton of them. They've gotten a lot of good prospects, not even just with the Demidovs and the Hudsons and the Slavkovskis, but everybody else, the Mayshars, the Becks, the Michael Hages of the world, the other depth defensemen, the Logan Mayhews, and even in the AHL, Jacob Fowler. They've got a lot of versatility in all 3 positions in terms of their prospect pool. So why not shell out some of those extra picks in 2025 and 2026 and say, hey, we can get some really good support on our team right now. If David Savard is out and K'Andre Miller is in, I get that the handedness disparity does exist, but it's a pretty good roster replacement there. For Will Cuylle, you want to have a guy to have that goal-scoring touch. You're not sure whom it is. Will rotate in the middle to bottom 6. Is it Kapanen? Is it Heineman? Is it whomever? Cuylle is a good name. And he brings a lot of that Josh Anderson style to his game, maybe just without the blistering speed that Anderson can display once in a while. But for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on a Will Cuylle and K'Andre Miller offer sheet from the Montreal Canadiens, putting the New York Rangers in a pretty tough spot? If this goes down in this way, do you think the Rangers would rather match or let their players go away to whichever team ends up offer sheeting them? Will they pull off an Edmonton? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.